Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those who are new, I know you can benefit. So, of course, people keep reminding me that I'm scaring you guys to death by how close I am. You know what, people? This is a low-budget production. I just hold it in my hand, hope for the best. I got no backdrop, nothing. I hope I'll get there someday, but for now, thanks for your patience. And people tend to agree that my voice is pleasant enough, so maybe you can just listen and not look. How about that? Anyway, Happy Mercy Sunday. If you're not familiar, it's about the mercy of Christ and God in particular, because God mercifully gave up his son, mercifully allowed himself to die. And I say himself because, of course, Jesus is God in human form, right? Mercifully saved us with the resurrection and death on the cross. He's so merciful. Again, if you don't know him, I'd like to give a shout out to the Lord and just say, he's the best friend you'll ever have. He's known you your whole life. He knows every insecurity about you. He knows every strength. He knows everything you want to ever do. He's an amazing listener. He never talks back. What? I think as you get to know him, though, you'll have a sense that he's talking back. Anyway, though, I just rejoice in the mercy of the Lord. All right, so what I wanted to talk about was, of course, I keep referring to my urge jar, yay, which somehow, look at that, I cracked my urge jar. And this is really thick glass. I think I was so excited, I shook it too hard or slammed it down or something. I don't know. Luckily, it was only $1, and I will be getting another one. Okay, so I was reflecting on yesterday when I was struggling so much. And what I realized was I have this incredibly heightened sense of smell. I mean, they say women can already smell 25% better than men. But for me, it's 150% better than the whole planet, okay? It's always been something that greatly affects me. And not in a good way, many times. But also regarding food, right? Because I can smell everything, so heightened. So what I was realizing was on Saturday, I went to Saturday school, and I was going to be a helper for a presentation from the waterworks department, which was going to be on aquifers and the water cycle. And we made little bracelets, and each kid got 8 beads in a string, and each bead talked about the water cycle. Safe, lovely, done. What I didn't realize was that the aquifer was an edible aquifer, and that all of the assistants, like myself, had to help pass out all the goodies that went with it. So all of a sudden, I was scooping ice cream, doing rainbow sprinkles, pouring, Sprite, doing scoops of chocolate chips. Chocolate chip cookies, actually, for the soil. And the chocolate chip cookies were just like through the roof for me. So that's kind of what got me started on the nightmare. Then my husband and I went driving for 6 hours. Like I said, we were starving. We went to this first restaurant, which totally had the salad and even the dressing that I eat. And I was thrilled to be there. But someone in the room had on baby powder-based perfume, which is an instant migraine for me. It makes me want to crawl out of my skin. And no matter where I was in the restaurant, all I could smell was that. So we had to leave, and we went to another restaurant, which technically had salad and could be safe for me as well, right up until the Texas toast came to the table. I don't care about smelling dead meat, but that Texas toast with the butter and everything was just too much. Made me crazy. I did all right, I really did. But I realized it was all smell. So I looked up this really interesting article, which at first I was like, whatever, and I don't dare try. But it reminded me of the urge jar, because what Brooke Castillo always says is that you want to sit through that urge. So don't freak out when you immediately feel an urge and, oh my gosh, you have to act on it. But take a moment, take 4 moments, take up to 10 minutes for that urge, and then ultimately reward yourself for making it through. Well, that's kind of similar to this. This is by My Body and Soul, and of course, as I always do, I will include it in the description of this video. But what it says initially is it describes all these amazing common comfort foods, which I'm not going to list at the risk of triggering everyone. And finally it says, we know they're bad for us, but just a whiff of their smell is just so compelling. It turns out that the key to the problem and the solution is smell itself. Who knew? A team of researchers from the University of Florida have published their findings in the Journal of Marketing Research, and it all comes down to using your nose and a little bit of willpower to hold off that initial urge from compulsively eating whatever it is. Simply let your senses linger over the enticing fatty food smell for 2 minutes, and you'll suddenly find you've sated your appetite. Yes, you'll feel satisfied without calories. So I was like, is that even possible? I don't even know. But as I continue to read, I'm getting it. So it says, even your tummy will stop rumbling. Put simply, a quick smell primes our brain to taste it. A longer smell ends up being as satisfying as eating it. Researchers say that their studies indicate that all we actually need to trigger the reward center of our brain is a little extra exposure to that aroma. Ambient scent can be a powerful tool to resist cravings for indulgent foods. Study author, Professor blah, blah, blah. In fact, subtle sensory stimuli, like scents, can be more effective in influencing children's and adult food choices than restrictive policies. And I like this a lot because they actually did a study in which they were pumping out aromas, which so many places do, right? Where they were pumping out aromas. So they offered non-healthy foods like biscuits and pizza. But at the same time, they were pumping out the smell of strawberries and apples. And it says those smelling the biscuits and pizza for less than 30 seconds experienced a craving and were more likely to choose that food. Absolutely. If you don't give yourself that moment, you're going to act on it, right? But those who inhaled the greasy smell for up to 2 minutes ended up choosing strawberries and apples. Do you love that? Fruit has a smell, but in modern society, it's usually not connected to the reward center of the brain, which is why it has little impact in compelling us to make a purchase. Fatty foods are programmed into our reward centers under the premise of comfort food, right? The study says, though, it can be quickly overloaded. In essence, if we reward structures and areas representing craving in the brain can be satisfied with olfactory inputs instead of actual gustatory consumption of unhealthy foods, this can help with fighting food urges. By implication, it appears that recent downturn in business among several high-profile fast food outlets may be a result of their own cleverness, deliberately pumping ambient aromas of their foods in the restaurant atmosphere when people are required to sit for more than 2 minutes actually has reduced their profits because people get used to the smell and aren't as tempted. So it says, this is how you can burn up to 500 extra calories a day, blah, blah, blah. And there's a video about it. But I like that because I have such trouble with smell. And if I act on it too quickly, no wonder, right? But with my urge jar and the understanding that I don't have to fear smell itself, but rather have to sit through it, it's just one more level of the courage to sit through things for wellness. So, I was thinking, I say that I'm an alcoholic and I haven't had a drink in 27 years. Literally haven't had a drink in 27 years. Up to my 26th year, from 10, when I first shared a full bottle of cold duck with another fourth grader, until my 26th year, I was a binge drinker. I was never someone who could just handle a glass of wine. Let's have a single beer. Yeah, none of that was true for me. It was enough for me to actually be hospitalized with alcohol poisoning. So I just couldn't do alcohol. It was liquid sugar in my body. But it's been 27 years. I won't test it again. I know it's not good for me. The only wine I consume is the blood of Christ. And I'm so grateful for that. But I was thinking, one day I hope to have that same testimony, that I haven't had meat or dairy or any of those other things, none of which are life-giving for my body, for 27 years. Stick around for the ride, people. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Leave comments so that I can support you. What do you think of the smell theory? Are you willing to risk 2 minutes? And until we talk again, my friends, best of all, be blessed.